Let's take a look at the top 5 discussion topics to ask a restaurant owner. These are questions or topics that you can bring up with the restaurant owner, and have those conversations. And if you listen closely, they'll actually tell you how to sell them the system. If they get to this point and are curious enough to sit down with you, they probably want to buy something. And you listen to them, they'll tell you what you want to hear. They'll tell you what to do in order to sell them. This really should be a conversation and not an inquisition. You should have a casual conversation, but have a purpose behind each one of your questions. It should be brief, no longer than 30 minutes. And while you're there, watch and observe. Look at how the flow of the restaurant is. Look at the order taking process. Look at the prep in the kitchen. Take a look at what's going on around to see and be observant for things that you might be able to improve upon, because you really should be a consultant, and you're going to consult, educate, and guide them toward the better solution for their operation. The goal of this is to look for 5 cost justification points. These are going to be points that you'll bring up later during the presentation to help justify the system. That is, help them understand how a new system, a more modern system, is going to actually pay for itself. You're going to uncover pain points. You'll get to where when you look at the existing system, you're going to go, hey, I know the things that are hurting him on this system, because all these systems have deficiencies and they are causing problems. You can uncover those pain points if you know the right questions to ask. You would certainly want to raise doubt in their current system. If you know that system is 4 and 5 years old, you can assume that it's breaking down now. It's not going to be as reliable as it once was. Write these answers down. Get used to writing them down. Get the customer used to you writing on paper. That way, when it comes time to start signing the agreement, they're used to the concept of signatures and writing on paper. And then the last thing you want to do is set up the next meeting. I generally do not recommend that you do the survey and the conversation you're having and the presentation during the same meeting. The reason being is that they have a finite amount of time they can put into this. You don't want to take up a whole hour. You'll lose their focus. They won't keep their focus for the entire time. So I recommend you do one meeting to have the conversation, and then a separate meeting later on to do the presentation. So let's get into the 5 topics. What do they like about their current system? Now, don't be afraid if you get into this and they have features that you don't have that they like. Don't sweat it. There's ways around that when you get into the presentation. But you certainly have to be able to duplicate what they really, really like about their current system in the next system. So it's good to know what they do like. It gets this topic started on a positive note. And what would you improve about your current system? This is where the opportunities start to really bubble up to the top. You start looking at what do they want to improve. Well, this is probably why they're looking, is that they have some things that they currently do not like about their system that they want to change. So just get ready for a dump. They may back up the dump truck and pull the handle, and you hope they do. Write all their answers down. Get ready for a good dump here. Help increase the pain by asking for clarification. And I know this may sound like a little cruel, but if they have a pain point that is hurting them, maybe ask them to clarify that or expand upon it or explain how that is a pain point, so that you really, really, really can drive that home, how uncomfortable their current system is. You're going to uncover the hard cost of the current system. A hard cost is different. There's hard and soft. A hard cost is something that they experience just by owning the system. And then an example of that is at least. And the lease is a hard cost. They have a finite time. Well, how long is that lease? And because if it's 36-month lease and they're only 2 months into it, they're not really a qualified customer because they got that rest of that lease to pay off. But if they get 2/3 or more into the length of that lease, you really want to start driving home that opportunity to move out of that lease and move into something else. So you want to know how long it is. And then again, you want to know how much is that lease, because that helps you understand how much system you have to justify in your cost justifications. If it's a $300, $400 a month payment, you want to know that, because when you get ready to get the proposal for the next system, you want to make sure that you're within that same range or better. Are they experiencing any repair cost? These are, it's more likely as the older the system is, they're going to start experiencing some cost for repairs, particularly toward the printer. Printers do wear out long before the terminals do. So are they having any repair cost? If so, uncover that. And then the cost of paper and ribbons. All these are hard costs, and there are more, but these are the main ones you should look for when you're uncovering the pain points. Then operational costs. These are more of the soft benefits and soft cost, such as labor. When you're talking about labor with a restaurant owner, you need to know the range so that you'll kind of understand where they're coming from. Labor is going to be between 20 and 30% of their revenues. Top line revenue, labor is 20 to 30% of that. 20% labor is in a more of the fast food type of operation, where the 30% is toward the fine dine. Then there's food, liquor, beer, and wine. Those food costs all run between 35 and 45%. 35% is on the fine dine, tablecloth type of operation, and the 45 is on the quick service. So what you then have is a combined cost. You should look for somewhere underneath a 66%. That is, labor and food costs combined should be under 66%. Anything outside of that is going to be something that really should be looked at and worked on with regard to that restaurant. Processing costs. Is it a bundled solution? Do they bundle their point of sale and their credit cards together? So is it a bundled solution? You'll need to know that. You need to know the length of the contract. It's kind of like their lease. You want to know how long they have left in their processing contract, and the type of contract. Is it a tiered, or is it a flat rate? Then finally, some simple business facts. You're going to need to know the monthly volume and the order percent of order by order type. So do they do more dine-in, drive-through for a fast food restaurant? What are the percentages of this? And particularly pay attention to their delivery and those orders, that type of order type. Number of servers at peak times, you might not understand why, but in the point of sale business, it is a common theme that you have 3 servers per 1 terminal. So if they have 5 servers at peak times, they're going to need 2 terminals. If they have 3, they're going to need 1. So it's kind of a easy rule of thumb, if you will, on how many servers and how many terminals they need. Same thing for bartenders. If they have 2 bartenders is the most you can put on 1 terminal. So it's a ratio of 2 to 1. If they have 3 bartenders working at a bar, they're going to need at least 2 terminals to run that bar properly. And then third-party delivery companies. How do they work with those? Do they do an upcharge? In every restaurant that has these third-party companies that do delivery, those guys charge. They charge up to 30% more for the food. So they'll take out whatever they tack on to the restaurant is up to 30% more than the restaurant's charging. So do they upcharge at the restaurant level? Do they take a $10 meal and make it a $13 meal? And then if that's the case, at $13, does the delivery company charge on top of that? So that's very common, and that's something that you need to ask about. Online ordering, and is there a cost? If they're currently using online ordering, it is not uncommon that it would be anywhere from $100 to $150 or more per month just for the online ordering platform. And remember, ours is included at no charge. Contactless ordering and payments. This is huge. This is, as you know, in the credit card business, this contactless payments is a big deal. And we offer those as a solution in our system. And then gift cards and loyalty. The gift card and loyalty program that comes with the Aldelo Express is included at no charge, and it is a multiple store program. So multiple store gift card and multiple store loyalty. Find out what they're doing right now. You're going to want to know their labor schedule, how they're doing it, and how many employees. Even if they have 4 or 5 employees, they can still use the labor scheduling module in the Aldelo Express to cost justify the system. It's really simple to do, and we'll teach you how to do that. So how are they doing it? Is it electronic or is it manual? And then ask the question, is it possible for someone to clock their friend in? This is called buddy punching. That is, if you have a buddy that's going to be running late, buddy might punch that other person in, even though they're not there. We have ways to hinder this, stop this completely. So ask, is it possible that somebody might clock in their friend if their friend's running late? Just put that seed of doubt in their mind. You want to know their food cost, and you want to know how often inventory is taken. Generally speaking, in a fast food restaurant, they inventory their proteins daily. That's meats and cheeses daily, and everything else weekly. In a fine dine restaurant, they'll do the proteins weekly and everything else monthly. So find out how often they're taking inventory to see if they fall within that gap. And then how often how are the shortages determined? Is that based upon previous count plus receipts minus what is left? Is that what they're balancing to? That's not as good as balancing to the actual sales, which is beginning count plus receipts minus sales, then minus what's left. That gives you the over and short. That's a much more accurate way of doing the food cost. Are they doing it with a software program, or are they doing it with manual calculations? I'm actually listing the people who use Excel and those spreadsheets. That's more along the manual method. I'm looking for people, are they doing it with a true inventory software module that does recipes and ingredient level inventory? If anything other than that, I would consider that a manual calculation. And remember, our inventory module is included. Some bonus facts here. We have number of cashiers at peak times. That's cashiers versus servers. Cashiers, if they have 3 cashiers, they need 3 terminals. How are coupons balanced? Just simply asking this question. Do they do coupons? And if so, how do they balance them? And you might get a blank stare, because most restaurants truly don't balance their coupons like they should. They should take their coupons and treat them as cash, and they generally don't. So that's a real opening for theft. How are money drops handled? Money drop would be out of the cash drawer, take the money out, record the drop, and then put it in a bag in the safe. That's a money drop. And how are they handled? Generally, you don't want a lot of cash in the counter registers, which makes it an easy theft to have that somebody reach across and grab that money. How are cashiers balanced? That is it a blind balance? Is it balancing just using the till to just count it over and short? Are they doing a blind balance, which is letting the cashier just simply count how much money is in the terminal in the cash till, and then let the system tell them if they're over or short? That's called blind balancing, and we do that. If it's a drive-through, are they single or double? We handle both, but it's good to know which way they go. And then how many prep areas in the kitchen? Generally, a prep area would be a fry area, a grill. You might have a salad or dessert. Each one of those prep areas might need a printer or a kitchen display. So find out how many prep areas in the kitchen and how maybe you can increase the flow of food by having these prep areas have their own device, their own printer, or their KDS. If they're doing delivery, is it a self-dispatch or did they use a dispatcher? That is an employee who then manages all the drivers and the food. Our system handles both ways, and it's really easy to do. It's just a matter of training on how to handle it, but you need to know if they're using a self-dispatch or a dispatcher. And then how are drops handled? A drop is when the driver comes back from the run, they come back into the restaurant and they take their cash and put it in a lock box. So it's safe and taken away from the driver so they don't have a theft or a robbery problem. And then how are the drivers balanced? Generally, you're going to balance a driver the same as you balance the cashier. So if you're using blind balancing for the cashiers, you're going to use blind balancing for the drivers as well. And how are they doing the driver mapping? How's that driver know where to go? How are they doing the mapping? You want to know that. And then are they using any customer texting? That is texting the customer when the food has been dispatched. They'll get a text message saying the food has left the restaurant and it's on its way. And please let us know if you have any questions. We are here to help. You want to make sure that you get the basic information that you need to be comfortable presenting this or discussing this with a restaurant owner.